Many of my videos have featured the padded room. It's not really a room, just a space I marked off in our unfinished basement using large moving blankets. They're not elegant, and they're extremely orange, but they got the job done. They're effective as makeshift walls, and they're also excellent sound dampeners, perfect for making audio recordings. But the space was definitely not large. In fact, its footprint precisely matched the dimensions of that orange and white polka dot rug on the floor, 6.5 feet by 4.5 feet. That's under 30 square feet total. Extremely cramped for my purposes. Eventually I want to frame out a proper studio room in the basement. So far, a lot of things have kept me from doing that. But this summer, some of those things are propelling this project forward, at least a little. It's not a proper room yet, but this weekend I took the first steps towards figuring out how that room will take shape. We're in the process of decluttering the basement, and that has allowed for an expansion. I rearranged the so-called walls, and now the padded room has more than doubled in size to 6.5 feet by 11 feet. Now it's over 70 square feet, and the difference feels even larger. Now I can store all of my gear in the space, and the free floor area is still considerably larger than before. I even had room to add a small desk, and it's not going to be so hard to get usable camera angles anymore. I've already posted a few videos about the Squier 40th Anniversary Vintage Edition Jazz Bass I purchased at the end of June on closeout from Sweetwater. Well, they made it irresistible for me to build a matching set by reducing the prices even further. So this week I got my hands on the Precision Bass from the same series for a mere $300. In fact, I got the last one they had. Alright, so here are my immediate first reactions to taking the Squier 40th Anniversary Vintage Edition P-Bass out of the box. As with the jazz bass, I'm not a huge fan of the gold anodized pickguard, so I'm going to be swapping that out. The action seems a bit high. There might need to be a slight truss rod adjustment, but I'm going to leave it alone for now. The tone knob is scraping just a little bit, but that's easy enough to adjust. The neck, nice and smooth. I like the satin finish. The frets are very good. Intonation seems good. I'm going to put on flats, but yeah, I think this is pretty good. Overall, pretty happy with it. I did notice when I turned up the volume on the amp a bit that there was some buzz, so there's probably no insulation or shielding in here, just as with the jazz bass. So I'm going to be putting in some copper foil shielding. As with the jazz bass, I really like many things about this bass. In particular, the matte finish in a classic color, the smooth, well-dressed neck, the excellent tuners, and the overall setup. But I also knew three things would need immediate attention. I'd need to replace the strings because I hate round wounds. I'd need to add copper foil shielding, and that gold anodized pickguard has got to go. Fortunately, I had the original so-called mint green pickguard from my American Professional Precision bass sitting in a drawer. I had a feeling it would look great with the Dakota Red finish on this Squier. I also swapped in some replacement knobs to give it a fresher look. This time around, adding the copper foil, I knew immediately that I would need to wrap the foil over the front of the body at a couple of the screw holes to create contact with the foil on the back of the pickguard. What I didn't anticipate was that the control cavity would be routed just slightly too big for the pickguard, so the top of it is right at the very edge of the pickguard. It's not noticeable from a distance, but looking down at it while I'm playing, I can see the tiniest bit of a gap. What's worse was that once I had the foil applied, I plugged in the bass and got no sound. Absolute silence. I mean, not just the quiet performance I wanted, but nothing. Eventually I realized the jack was making contact with the foil and shorting out the signal, so I removed the pickguard and added a strip of electrical tape over the copper surrounding the jack. Voila! A perfect fix. Unfortunately, the only spare flat wound strings I had on hand were a set of labella gold flats. I generally like labellas, but there's something about these gold strings I can't stand. They're much higher tension than most other strings I've used, and the gold coating tends to corrode slightly in a way that makes the strings feel very sticky, not smooth. So as soon as I finished recording this shootout, I swapped the labella white nylon flats from the American Professional onto the Squier and put the Squier's stock strings on the Fender. Now there's nothing left to do but stack this bass up against my American Professional P-Bass and see how it sounds. Okay, we're going to do a tone shootout between the Squier and my American Professional. This is running through the acoustic B100. All the EQ is flat, straight into the Focusrite. There's not going to be any filtering or processing, EQ or anything like that on the recording. So here we are with the tone at 100%. Here's the tone at about 50%. Tone all the way down. Now let's hear the bass in context. Here's an original tune I wrote recently, finally starting work on a project I've had in mind for at least a decade, YÓTRÅK.